Our topic for today is affordable housing, sustainable design practice that reduce operational costs. So are we divide it into two places, into two zones, talk about reducing operational costs. It means the cost of construction itself. It's no gainsaying that Lagos owns, and we have different kind of housing projects that supposedly to be towards affordability, and then you realize that people can't afford them because of the cost you get, and people can't pay for them, or the kind of people that are subscribing to those property are lesser than the larger population. That in fact the real people that were supposed to be catered for are not being catered for because they couldn't afford to buy the property you get. So it becomes not affordable to certain people, and those people are the actual audience at which it's supposed to be meant for. So we have scenarios like that. Affordability quest can also come to the point whereby an individual wants to build house for him or herself, and then is looking at the cost of construction. Can I really afford money to build a decent home for myself or my family? You get, this is not to buy, this is to even build. And by the time you look at cost of materials and all those things, it's really ridiculous. And then you are wondering, can I go ahead with this and everything? Yeah. So these are also this is a situation at which we can also talk about affordability. And then the third one is, as a developer, you want to build house, you want to really cater for people that are that doesn't have as much you get, and then you really want to do your best to bring down the cost of construction, and so like your cost of sales will be lower. And then you realize that you are finding it hard to achieve that, probably because of what's it called, the cost of material you get. So that is another people and that individual. That's so we have the government, the individual himself that wants to build, and then we have the private organization that wants to own. Want to that's a developer or a real estate developer that wants to develop housing for people. You get. So those are the three categories at which we can be battling with the question, with the quest of affordability or not affordability. What makes a house affordable? Considering the design practice that reduce operational cost is the process. Start from design and then process. You can do a design that this is designed to be to save cost during construction. But if it is not, it doesn't, if they don't follow, the people on site don't follow exactly what they're supposed to do to make sure that they reduce cost, you will still be spending a lot of money on the project itself. Because what we're talking about here is how to reduce the cost. Okay, so the very first thing you consider is the land itself. What is the nature of the land? Is it a swampy land? Is definitely that will influence the foundation. It will influence if the land is very low compared to the road itself. It will involve it will influence the height of the ground floor of the DPC you get. So you have to start filling the compound, or the height of the foundation will be very high, which will incur at a lot of cost you get. So you need to look at that. Some people, the cost of their foundation is more than the cost of buying the land. Before you buy the land, that is where you are making decision on, okay, affordability or not affordability. And then the second that you also need to pay attention to is the process of procurement. What kind of procurement style are you using? How are you procuring the process differs. Some people will buy in bulk, some will not buy in bulk. You get our advice before you say you want to buy in bulk, know what you want to buy in bulk. Don't buy things that will decay like cement, and something that we don't buy wood that will be curved or issues by the time we want to start using them for roofing. You buy things that you need by time. You can now then buy them in bulk, so that's then some things that you have adequate storage system for. You get, so you don't need to start buying things that you don't know where you store them. By the time you get to the point where you need to use them, they've gotten spoiled. You have to be creative or be strategic about your procurement process. And if you need a professional to help you with procurement process, get a professional to help you with your procurement process. It is very key. This operational cost on site, while you are working, being influenced by design, is majorly is one of it is get a supervisor, a proper supervisor or a project manager to project manage you. This will not only help you, it will save you a lot of headache. It will save you a lot of things. So if you understand the process well, it helps you to know when to even procure. It helps you to know what kind of material to procure on time, and the methodology of construction. You will get it right. Yeah, because of value engineering, you can look at, okay, this is the cost of the XY, this particular section of the building. How can we save more money? How can we save money doing this? You can come up with another solution. While on site, if you have a proper engineer, then you can, or supervisor, you can come up with on doing that particular thing without spending the budgeted amount, and then you can reduce cost. That is why you need professional. This is how you save cost. This is how you save cost. You don't need to, sometimes you don't need to run wires, cables everywhere. If you are good, if you have good engineers, they can help you to know where the wires will pass, where this one would be here, that will be there, and you don't have to cut down on waste. That is it. By the time you start cutting down on waste, you realize that you save a whole lot. And then the next one is that you manage your cost so that you don't have cost wasted. You don't have waste on finance. You don't waste money on projects you get. So if you can focus on all those three things, don't forget the very first one is the quality. If you ignore the quality and you focus on the time, you want to get this in house quickly, and then you are reducing costs, you're still creating a longer problem. The problem you are creating is the problem that the occupant will face because you didn't focus on quality that you get. So you need to focus on the three together. Once you can get those three together, and then you are running on them, you are using these three as your KPI to reduce the cost. That is what we call value engineering. Then by the time you are done, you realize that the savings is sustainable. If you don't include quality of the building into the saving cost saving process, you are not saving any cost. You are what you are. If you are creating a damage, you are creating a brand damage to your personality or to the organization. The next thing that we discuss about is reuse of material. You can reuse material. Most of the materials that are being reused on site are bamboo, your boards and other things, which is your marine boards, and you can reuse them to cast, to your concrete at different intervals during the construction process. You can reuse a bucket, paint buckets that you use to paint the former site, bring them to the new site, and then use them to move concrete about instead of buying headbands. You get, so you can. That's how you can save cost. You get the next thing I'll talk about is water provision. This is a basic thing. Everybody will think you should have that. Why won't you have that? Make sure there's water on your site as much as possible. We're talking about operational process. Make sure there's always water. Site. If you dig your bore, buying water with delay. This is if it's construction. You are doing concrete. You are mixing concrete. You are doing those things. Delay on material or on we incur more cost. You get it to incur a lot of things. You get, so make sure that you have enough water, you have enough hands to call when you need those hands, laborers who that assist your guys to work. You make sure that you have them on if you have to have your bowl system, your water system before you start the project. Please do. Please have it so that you don't have to be buying or running a lot of money in deed of creating of finding water. Yeah. And then the other thing that I also talk about is unnecessary building heights, or making fancy things that are not necessary. You get like roofing system. Yeah, I want my roof to be very, very high. I want it to be bogus. I want people to see the building from afar. If you cut away SSs, things are above standard, functional standard. Every other thing else is SS. You get, so you cut them away. These are ways at which you can save costs on your building. The most important thing is function. That is one thing about spatial understanding. You need to make sure that the function of the building is in place, and then you work in with environmental factors. You obey all the laws that need to be obeyed, and then your ventilation is wise, is clear, everything is fine, and then you are good. The last thing I will talk about when you are doing work on site is have your eye on site. Have eye on site, meaning that probably clerk of work, someone that when the materials are being deposited on site, someone is confirming them and writing them down. One of the best ways to also do this is to have a camera on your site. This will not only help you, it serves as a leverage for you. Wherever you are monitoring your project, you are seeing people, you are seeing what is going on your site, you are seeing exactly what is going on part-time, real time. There are many other aspects as well that we can also consider. One of them is the energy. Energy, that is now in details, in design details itself. Well, I will now move to the design details. We have many design details, process things that we can consider, a lot of them. Yeah. So I'll start energy efficiency. Efficiency, it is passive design, designing to make sure that the building is passive. It's a one, and it's way at which you can save money. When you have enough ventilation, you have thermal mass material can reduce material. You can reduce costs. If you have, let's say, a green roof, I've mentioned this before, you have done your design in a way that you are saving the cost, the heat in the house itself, or you use certain materials that reduces the heat, definitely your cooling will not work as much as required. The second thing on energy savings is when you use renewable energy. Probably you use solar system or something. You get that will also reduce your energy consumption. Where I'm going into is that the essence of sustainability or the essence of affordability is not in the or is not only in the cost at which you deliver the building, which I've always been saying. The cost of maintenance of the building itself is also important. It's also a part of the affordability. And then smart technology. Smart will help you on a big run. Because smart technology will give you the leverage of because you'll be having IoT, which is Internet of Things, to be able to guide you implement because there'll be implementation of smart thermostat in those devices, which helps you with lighting system. You get so you can move to another room. It switches off the light, so your count is reducing. You're not wasting power. You're not wasting energy. You understand? So you save your energy as much as possible. That is what the smart technology will do for you. Water conservation. Water conservation is also an important at which you can also look at doing your from design phase, which is design driven. You get so because you talk about rainwater harvesting. Now we have it in Lagos. People use rainwater harvesting and they recycle rainwater process and they use it to flush. They use it in different parts of the house. You get so these are things at which ways at which you can reduce cost of the plant itself or things that you are procuring on a regular basis. And then we have green building materials. Green building materials, one, I always start with local and recycled material. Always leverage on local materials. In architecture, it's called vernacular architecture. So you make sure that you always consider what are the materials that we have around here. What materials can I use that will not, I won't have to spend money on importation or high level of or spend a lot of money on bringing things in. So you can consider local and recycled materials. The major part of that is that you are reducing cost on transportation. Transportation cost is very high. Yeah, still on green. Because if I bring in those materials, they are burning fossil fuel to get to your site, you're harming more people and everything. And then the cost itself is high by the time it lands on your site. The next thing you consider under that is actually low carbon cement alternatives. Yeah. So you can have a blend. You get there. Studies are still going on how you can look on cement alternatives. Yeah. So there are many ways at which you can go about it. Yeah. Just need to know what works for you and then where and where. So one of the things I always say is that reduce the footage of your building. Less is more. Yeah, you don't need to build large. You can decide. That's why if you are talking about affordable homes, social housing, if you notice one thing about them, the size, the built up size, the space is always smaller. So you get to do it so you can be around a particular size, and then that will be a leverage for you. Try it and then you see that you can. That's why I say if you are doing something minimal, you realize that you don't have to spend so much. The next thing we talk about is the waste. You need to on project you need to reduce waste. Prefabrication is a norm. It's an essence, something that is important, so that you prefabricate. You buy things already prefabricated and you move them to site. This will reduce waste. It will reduce time on moving around your site and everything, and you get. So those are areas. Then biodigester, so you can manage your waste from the toilet. A lot of things can be done. So these are a few things that I just felt like sharing today regarding the process of reducing costs, we call it sustainable design practice that reduce operational costs to achieve affordable housing. Yeah, so it's a combination of activity that flows starting from the architect and to the engineering design itself, and then to the project manager or supervisor on site to manage the project effectively, and then the maker decision to buy, when to procure material and when not, and the quantity to procure, and the process they are put in place to preserve the materials that are on site. All these things in whole will affect the total cost of the construction. Those are the things that piles up to. So a simple question is that, do you believe in the word affordable housing? Yes, I believe it. I've already explained what exactly it is. Yeah, I believe so much in the affordability that you get, but it has to be driven with sustainability. So I always call it sustainable, affordable housing. So it has to be, if it's not sustainable, then it's not affordable. Thank you so much for your time, for everybody that has been here today. I really appreciate us.